Hey everybody, Jason here. Welcome to another episode of Driver's Paddock. Right now we're seated in my beloved BMW M2 competition time attack build. And this car was happily stored away. It got an amazing OCD detail. I had it on the battery tender, had the tire pressure set with a lot of mats. It was hibernating. The last time I was here with this car, it was pouring rain and I was sliding around like an idiot the entire time. And the thing is, my good friend Jim, who has a ton of experience in GLTC racing Evos, and he also has a BMW M2 competition, he put down a blistering 113.9 around Toronto Motorsports Park. So of course we had to bring the car out from hibernation to see if we can even get close to his time. But let's see if we can get that 113.9. My fastest time around this track as of now is a 114.8. So we're close to a second off of his pace. Tires today, 275 square RE71 RS scrubs for my friend Johnny's M2 competition. So hopefully we have enough tire and hopefully the track conditions are good. But let's see if I can find the time. Let's go. Okay everybody, let's warm up to it. Haven't driven this car here for a very long time. But here we go. It's quite a lot of traffic today. It's unfortunate, but we'll see what we can do. It's possible that I can do a 13 today. Let's go set the tire pressures. I have a really good idea of what the car is like right now. It's understeering on entry a little bit, so I need the front to load up a bit more. Is the car putting down the power? If I can get a little bit more heat in the rear tires before they start to fall off, I think it's possible that I can do 113. So everybody, we just did our first session. We did a 114.6 flat. That's still 0.6 seconds off of Jim's time. I've also softened the rear low speed compression by 1 click such that when I get on the power, I just want it to squat down a little bit better. And like I said earlier, if I'm going to do 113, the car needs to put down the power. Entry speeds are not as important in a high horsepower rear wheel drive car, right? If I'm managing the front end too much on the entry and on the mid corner phase and I'm delayed to throttle, the car is going to be slow, right? You want to back off the entry speeds just a little bit and get on the power such that it, really you can use the power to get you out of the corner, right? And especially with those long straights, it's going to add up to a lot. If I go too slow in the entry phase of the corner, well, then it's just going to be straight up slow, right? So let's head back out there. I'm going to do 1, maybe 2 more sessions. I have 5 cars to film today. So let's see if we can get that 113. Let's go. So everybody, here we go. This honestly felt like a pretty good lap. I ended up doing a 114.6, the exact time I did earlier, but instead of me making excuses this time, the car decided to delaminate the rear driver's side tire. Talk about saved by the bell. Honestly, these tires gave me a lot. After 6 track days by my friend Johnny, a half day at Motorsport GP by me, and 3 push laps here at TMP, they finally called it quits. It's at this point I knew something was wrong. Let's nurse the car back to the pits. So everybody, it's been an amazing 2024, and this was my last track day of the year. And all is well. We towed the car back to the shop. It's here behind me. It's safe, and it's unfortunate what happened, but I should probably stop pushing so hard on other people's donated racing junk. And I hope you had an amazing time yourself, track driving and following along in my journey to become the best driver that I can be. And after all, that's what this channel is all about. Enjoying cars, sharing in that community, and that constant improvement. We did a total of 3 laps, but honestly, not all is lost. Even with scrubs, but with good conditions, but also with a lot of mistakes on my part, I was still able to PB. Most of the time attack events this year, the conditions were not really optimal, but this was a good opportunity to really see what the car can do. And in a moment, we'll go through the footage and talk through a lap around Toronto Motorsports Park. And honestly, I didn't even think a 113 was possible, but after these 3 laps, taking a look at the data and what Jim put down, that blistering 113.9, I believe there's even more time on the table. Typically, I'm a few tenths faster than Jim at most tracks in a lighter car, but yeah, he put down that blistering time. Hats off to him. For reference, a 992 GT3 RS, for example, on Trofeo RS with a semi-pro driver, did a 111 around this track. And a Porsche Cup champion did a 112 on slicks with a 991.2 GT3 RS. And I believe the overall lap record is somewhere around a 108. It was done by Scott Hargrove in the FAF Motorsports Porsche GT3 R race car. And on 200 treadwear tires, a 450 wheel horsepower street car, 113.9 is blisteringly fast. And hats off to Jim, and hopefully I can join that 113 club next year. I've already gone through some of the data. Maybe this might help somebody else as well. Let's see where I can improve. Let's go. So everyone, let's talk through a lap around Toronto Motorsports Park. And here at turn 10, I like to get my left side wheels on the curb, taking a later apex, carrying as much speed as I possibly can. Unfortunately, the car isn't quite positioned right here. I did early apex this slightly. Take this curb in 10 if you have good high-speed damping that can keep the car settled. Otherwise, just stay a little bit over to the right. It's pretty flat, it's pretty safe. Here, entering turn 11, I end up pretty far to the right. Some people like to make it all the way back over to the left, but I find it's better to carry more speed in turn 10, but making absolutely sure that the car is balanced going into turn 11. That means I end up more mid-track, as I do here. Rounding the last corner, I stay off the outside curb, and I try to late apex this last corner without unsettling the car over the curb. Be careful, the wall is right there. It was a crazy day. Mosquitoes everywhere, bees, and I don't even know what to call these things, but they really slowed me down, distracting me more than anything, hurting my top speeds. Turn 1, heavy braking zone. Looking out for the white lines on the ground, and typically I brake just after the first white line and turn in just before the fourth. I prefer to overslow slightly to be on power earlier, settling the car over the bumps. And the data shows here there's about a tenth to be had. You can have a slightly higher minimum speed than I did here, but honestly, with a high horsepower rear-wheel drive car, you're gonna give it up all on the exit if you're delayed on power. It's better to overslow just slightly, be committed on power over the bumps to settle it, and to make sure that you're committed on power at the exit. Heading over to turn 2, it looks like I'm waving to the Mini to thank him for letting me pass, but if you see right here, you'll actually see I'm waving to a snowman, and temperatures were honestly less than ideal that day, freezing as you can clearly see. And approaching turn 2, you'll see these same white lines. I brake around the first one and I turn in before the third, trying to get both front right wheels right on top of the curb. But as you can see, in all my days, I've seen gophers, birds, groundhogs, but never have I seen, right here, a tornado. The wind pushes me wide, and as a result, I completely miss the turn 2 apex. You should be right on top of this curve. Min speeds here should be close to around 100 kilometers an hour, and we're closer to 92. This corner cost me 3/10. Coming into 3, keep in mind it's a descending radius. Left foot braking here really helps to keep the car right on the limit and keep some load on the front tires as to not push too far to the left for turn 4. Coming over to turn 4, and I really need to work on this corner complex. I find I prioritize the entry of corner 4 too much, and it gets me too far right for the entry of turn 5. Turn 4 should really be sacrificed for a great exit in 5, but oftentimes I do this opposite too much, and it costs me big time. Up on the curb in turn 4, here I should be farther to the left, carry the car later, and turn into 5 later. I'm far too late on throttle here, and it reflects in the data. As a result, before turn 6, I only hit 140 kilometers. That should be closer to 145. This whole corner complex from 4, 5, and 6 cost me another 3/10, if not more. In turn 6, you can either take it like this with a higher min speed, turning in earlier as I did, more of a geometric corner if you will, or carry the brakes a bit deeper, a late apex in this hairpin. Honestly, for me, it changes lap to lap, just where the car wants to go and how good of a job I did at nailing that brake zone. At the chicane here, you can pretty much take it straight. I personally like to cheat a little bit over to the right, getting both tires over this curb, if you have a good high-speed damping, but don't attack it too hard if you don't have good suspension. The next curb, again, same sort of thing. I try to attack it as hard as I can. I have really good high-speed damping. It settles the car in one stroke. It takes up the entire curb in one stroke. And I try to commit to power as early as I can because I want to stabilize the rear end in a rear-wheel drive car or pull it straight in a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive car. That also allows me to get more speed heading over to turn 9. Now, in turn 9, sometimes I enter from the far left like I do here, but I'm finding more and more that it's more advantageous to carry speed from turn 8 to 9 and enter 9 closer to the middle. This corner really is get in, get out quick. This is a throwaway corner for me. And sure, you have slower min speeds when you take it, in the middle, but how I take it here, yes, there's higher min speeds, but you really lose out on the exit, especially if you have a high horsepower rear-wheel drive car. And here, as I exit in 9, I don't track all the way out. I find that the curb here is quite slippery and that there's more rubber and grip just off of the curb. Heading over to turn 10, I should have turned in a little bit later. You'll see this little white patch here. Again, that can be a pretty good reference point, but unfortunately, I did turn in a little bit earlier and I did early apex. Again, need a later apex, then you can carry more speed. But problem is right here, right there. You see how slick it is? All the oil. And unfortunately, the min speed here was what, 122. That should be closer to 128, 130 on a really good day. And again, I end up more to the right than most for this last corner for the sake of carrying speed in turn 10, making sure that the car is fully bouncing and just touching the curbs. And everyone, well, that's a 114.6 around Toronto Motorsports Park. So everyone, there's a lot of work left to do on my part as a driver, but what's planned for the car in 2025? Without giving too much away, the one thing that I'm really excited about and that's really gonna help this car is the Drexler rear differential.
The way that the BMW electronically controlled LSD locks up is just a little bit abrupt sometimes. And I find the car lacks some of that predictability and that fine-tuned throttle adjustability from the mid-corner to the exit that I'm looking for. The stock diff is actually open on deceleration and open on the brakes, and it uses a servo motor to control the amount of lock in the diff. And again, I just find that paired with the S55 motor with so much low-end torque, that torque shove, it can be really a handful at times with such a short wheelbase, right? The stock diff is not a motorsport setup, but it's, again, great for drifting. And the diff plus the torque shove, like I said, again, it's a real handful. The diff that I bought is the same diff in the M4 GT4 or the M2 CS Racing. It's a Drexler core, and it'll provide some lock on coast and on deceleration, which will help the short wheelbase under the brakes, right, to be a little bit more stable, and then that really fine throttle adjustability. I've driven an M2 CS Racing, and so I know what it's all about. Really what you get is, again, you give a little bit more throttle, that rear end is really eager to rotate, but as soon as you back off the throttle, the nose really tucks in. Now the stock car does do that, but not with this fine level adjustability that this differential offers. Now we plan to lighten the car just a little bit more and really turn the car into, let's call it a streetable track car still, but not a track only machine, right? I still want to be able to drive the car to the track and back, maybe take it to some car meets, that sort of thing. But it's gonna be just a little bit more hardcore. Which leads me to my next point. I bought another car, and let's call it a trackable street car. This is more of the streetable track car. But let me know what your guess is. Leave a comment below. What car am I adding to the garage? And again, hopefully with more driver development, I can crack into that 113 as well. But thank you so much for supporting the channel, coming along for the ride. And you know, if you're in the GTA or in the Ontario region, if you see me, please reach out. It's been an absolute blast making these videos, looking back on them and all these amazing times that I've had. Hopefully we can connect. Thank you for supporting the channel. We'll see you next season. There's more videos still to come. For now, let the winter build begin.